entertainment. So much fun when Dad can't play it. Bunch of themes he can't hold on to. A computer shapes his worldview. Open an egg, easy solid. Open an egg, is that white with polish?
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Survivor. I'm your host, Sufjan Stevens. Good morning, everyone. How did you sleep? You just heard a song that has no correlation to the rest of this podcast at all. It's called Open an Egg, but we'll get to that as the storytelling progresses, don't you worry. I've been starting to wake up earlier to post these things. I heard audio-only podcasts like to be listened to by people at work, school, commute, so I decided to upload these things, a little early in the morning. So remember, 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. Not every Tuesday. I'm trying my best. Speaking of trying my best, my guest today tried his best, and his best was a pretty darn good debut album. I met this gentleman through Gmail, and now he sits upon the throne of the Big Fish. Maybe that will give some of you hope that if you bother me enough, you'll get on the Big Fish as well. Just kidding. He was not bothering me. Actually, the contrary, because I was introduced to an album I would have never heard if it wasn't for him. So enough jibber jabber. Ladies and germs, put your hands together, grab a slice of your favorite cake, and join me welcoming to the show, Nathaniel Philip. What's up,
Hello.
Nathaniel Philip? How are you today?
What's up? I'm doing good.
First question, right out of the gate.
Yeah, go for
Why is it Philip and not Phillips, plural?
it. That is my middle name.
Ah, gotcha.
You'll also notice it's a single L Philip, which...
It is a single L Philip. The spelling was strange.
Yeah.
Because when I first talked about you on my IBA listenership Patreon, I called you Nathaniel Phillips because I was just like, yeah, that's how speech works. But quite the contrary, it's singular.
Well, you put the little caption in there, which I
did,
appreciate.
yeah.
You did recognize the mistake.
Because, if people are going to look up your shit, they're going to be like, why can't I find anything about Nathaniel Phillips?
Yeah, one letter off. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they're smart kids, but Nathaniel Philip joins us on the Big Fish podcast. Nathaniel, how are you today? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just got some tea here.
Ooh.
It will be cold enough for me to drink by the time the podcast is over.
What kind of tea?
I have no idea. My sister's really
Ooh.
into tea, and I just asked her to put some things into a mesh ball and then put it in water, which I feel like
some shit.
That's how tea's meant to be drinking
Randomly.
just like random things diffused in water.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a tea guy.
I'm not either. But
Oh, really?
I don't know. It's nice. I like the
give it the
aesthetic
old
of
college
tea.
try?
I don't like tea. I like being a person who is drinking tea. You know what I mean?
That is so facts.
It's
I've never understood but that makes so much sense.
It's like being a 14-year-old kid and wanting people to see you drink beer, but beer is disgusting.
It's like the shit you do, you get the wine glass, but you'd fill with apple juice, so you're like,
yes.
I'm sophisticated.
Yes. Yeah, I always swirl it around and smell it it's
everyone does that, bro.
yeah.
You want to be sophisticated when you're a little kid.
I feel like wine tasting is slightly bullshit in that way because I don't know what smelling the wine does.
I think it wasn't that there a whole bunch of studies in air quotes, where it's these wine tasting guys are actually full of shit and they cannot tell the difference between wines.
I think I saw that in an Adam Ruins Everything episode.
I think I saw it in Adam Ruins Everything too. I think you just jogged my memory.
There we go.
So if I gave you a bunch of teas, do you think you can determine which one is which? Do you have that refined of a palate?
I think I do it right. I like cooking, so I think I do it right.
Oh, you're a big cooking guy?
I love cooking.
I love cooking too. Hell yeah. What was the last thing you cooked?
Last thing I cooked, I don't know how to pronounce it, and it is not even close to authentic in any way. But it's Tom Kha Gai. I completely fucking... Of course, the audio-only podcast, I got to pronounce this thing. It's a Thai soup with mushrooms. It's coconut milk based.
Oh, damn, bro.
And I do not have the lemongrass and stuff you need to make the proper Thai or paste, Mm-hmm. But I did my best with the microgreens we had instead of parsley. It's you just need some green thing in there.
Yeah, some green shit. It's close enough.
Some green shit, yeah. I put fish sauce in there. We have fish sauce.
Ooh,
So.
damn. When I heard cooking, I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably like searing a chicken breast or something like that. A nice fettuccine alfredo. But damn, you're busting out words I don't even know how to pronounce.
It's fish sauce. It's
Fish sauce.
You know, fish and sauce. You combine the two words.
Oh, damn! I've never even thought about
It's
that.
it's much easier than you think it is pronounced. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Big cooking guy. Well, I don't know if you've heard about the Big Fish sauce, but this is the Big Fish podcast, and we're here with Nathaniel Philip. And Nathaniel Philip, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you here? Who are you? What do you do?
I am here because you invited me.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm here. I'm here because I would like to be here as well.
Awesome.
So that's good. It was consensual. I am a musician, multiple instrumentalist, but primarily like artist and composer. I have just released a debut album, and I'm here to promote it.
I'm on my media run and Big Fish podcast. First
Media
stop.
Run, Big Fish podcast. I do not know how to market like every good musician, so this is the media run, and I'm gonna pretend like, I've done this before.
Yeah, I think you're doing a pretty good job. I mean, we busted open a really good conversation about some fish sauce. You're doing great, man.
Thank you. I think I've seen enough other podcasts that I can just
to
sort
get
of,
the
like,
gist.
recall it.
Yeah, you're kind of like, yeah, I got this shit. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I listened to every H3 podcast to prepare for this. That was the
every single one. Damn, bro. They
every
got
single
like,
one.
How many episodes are they on? Like
I have
7,000?
I listened to like a handful of those.
I mean,
I listen when
facts.
I like the guest.
Oh yeah, of course, just to get the dynamic down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I did to like learn how to do interview style podcasts. Just watch a bunch of interviews from people that I enjoy and kind of see how they interview.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie, Sean Evans, he was a good job. But I'm not eating chicken wings, so it's like kind of a different dynamic.
Right. I feel like Sean Evans is Nardwuar, but with chicken wings, and nobody realizes it because there's so much focus on the chicken wings.
That's a great comparison, actually. And how did I not think of Nardwuar?
Well, I hope you don't go as hard as Nardwuar because I don't know what you could find.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not in the feds like Nardwuar.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have that covert information.
Yeah.
But Nathaniel Phillips, I'll give a little backstory how we first interacted. It was through Gmail. The intro was not being coy. You told me about an album that you have created. And most of the time when I get like emails from people like, "Ayo, check this out," most of the time it's like, "Hey, check out this artist that is not me." But you send in like, "Hey, I made this," and that intrigued me. I was like, okay. And also, when people do send it to me and it's with them, like they made the music, 9 times out of 10, it's like the classic Filthy Frank thing, like, "Hey, yo, check out my mixtape, man." But like you seemed very earnest and genuine, so I gave it the old college try, and I ended up really enjoying it. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
what was that album called?
I'll Die Before the Rest of Me Changes.
Quite a intense title. When you told me this, when I saw the title and like you texted, I was like, "Fuck, that's like a black metal album cover type shit." Like, "I'll die before the rest of me changes."
Yeah, I have been I think a lot of the album title and the album cover itself, and you pointed this out in the Patreon review you did. I was very hyper aware of how a title and album cover looks online, just because I've been watching music, like music discussion YouTube channels for so long, and there's that one. Like the classic, Nakey Jakey?
Oh, absolutely. I love Nakey Jakey.
Like that video he did on Video Game Box Chart, which
It's a great video.
Great video, constantly in the back of my mind. Because it's like, compared to like, when it was like, you made an album cover and you saw it in a vinyl shop, it's like, the vinyl cover needs to be cool, or if it's like in the 60s, it's just like, yeah, it's Aretha Franklin and all her hit singles or whatever, like it's just like a banner or whatever. Yeah. But it's like, and the marketing, I feel like, has moved in a good direction where there's that like desire for like a really intriguing, mysterious album cover and album title, and I I kind of tried to cater that into a way because I also love it. I love good album covers. I love good album titles. And I think I did all right. I'm very excited to. I'm very excited to have gone through the process once on the sophomore, and do it again.
I'm so happy that you think that way about album covers, because I know a lot of people are just kind of so on album artwork and stuff like that. But I mad respect, especially that Nikki Jakey video, how you fucking dropped that shit. Mad respect, because that's kind of the way I think about it too. Like, what's the most crazy thing that people can see where they say, "Damn, what does it sound like?"
Well, I was watching actually your super flat video, because that was one of the videos I checked out after I watched I can't remember which one, the Injury Reserve that I first saw yours.
Hell yeah, dude.
And that one's intriguing to me because it's like, it looks like the picture like the kid in Sixth Sense draws to like scare Toni Collette.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, "Oh, honey, what is this?" And it's like, it's a little bean guy in a shirt and he's bleeding out of his mouth.
It's a nematode.
Yeah, it's a nematode. I've still not listened to the album. I'll admit that. I need to set time aside to do that. But
no, yeah, you did. Yeah.
Either way, that being said, the album cover was like, that's enough to hook me. That's what I think. That's what I'm thinking about in the future. It's sort of like what cultivates some sense of intrigue through the mystery of the image. Like, what is the story being told that is just enough that you're like, what's going on there? You know, like, that is. I have no idea. Like, I know that's what you need to cultivate, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I think in the future I might hire somebody who get some freelance work done from somebody who actually knows how art works, how visual art works, and it's not just me like, what would be cool and grainy and Gen Z is to shoot the album cover on a DSi XL Mario Edition camera. That's going to be,
that's what. Okay, hang on. We're skipping ahead a little bit here, but you're getting me into it. So this was actually I put this on my Discord that I was going to be talking to you, and someone asked me a question, and it flows too perfectly, and I usually save these toward the end, but flowed too perfectly. Jackson Burns, he wants to know, what is your inspiration for your debut album cover, and what does it mean? I think I've been asking that question in my head for a very long time. What is the thing that I'm looking at? I'm so fucking curious.
Okay. So, which should I answer? I guess the what is on it literally is a very blurry, circular coffee table with a tablecloth and like a little napkin and some silverware, and then a plate, and then on top of it, sort of, I guess literally photoshopped in, is this very blurry picture of cake. Mm-hmm. That is what is literally on the album cover. I went through a lot of iterations for that, and I probably have 200 other photos I took.
Holy shit.
And the actual album cover ended up being the demo photo. The original plan was, it took me 2 nights. I went to a thrift store and bought all the props, and then I just sort of set up the mood lighting and then took pictures and sort of just some demo pictures to see how it would look in the lighting, and so I could sort of do some color grading on it and stuff. But the plan was to actually bake a cake and then come back and frame the cake in the album cover. And sort of in testing out the demo photo, I just like photoshopped cake into it to see how it would look. And it's like a Getty Images like stock photo of cake that I sort of smeared across. And the first time I looked at it, I was like, I really don't think the direction of this cover is going well. I was like, we might be fucked. I spent for me, which is a lot of money, like $25 at the thrift store to get like this tablecloth and stuff. And then I went back the next day, and the idea I originally had was I was going to bake 2 cakes. I baked a chocolate cake, and I baked a chocolate. The actual cake is made of chocolate. It's chocolate frosting, and then a yellow cake with vanilla or with a pink frosting. And the idea was place the cake in the plate, the chocolate cake in the plate, and then smear the pink cake on the tablecloth. So it was like why is there a uneaten chocolate cake when there's pink cake on the tablecloth?
Yeah.
That was my like cultivate the mystery idea.
Oh, bro, you cultivated the mystery all right. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, there's some good photos from that. But I was very indecisive. I think I got it down to like 3 or 4 photos. I was like, any of these could work. Let me fuck around with this more. But then my mom wanted to put a QR code to listen to the album on our Christmas cards.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I just uploaded to YouTube unlisted as the whole album. And something about seeing it in a YouTube video, because I put up the demo photo, which is the album cover.
Yeah.
Which is now the something about seeing it and hearing it with the music. It went from like, I don't know what we're doing over here, like what are we doing, to like, oh, this is the album cover. It was just like the weirdest connotative flip in my own brain, where it just like 180'd, and I was like, oh, this is the album cover. And all the other cake photos, I like them in like sort of without the context of the music, but something about hearing the music and seeing the image, I was like, these fit together. I don't know why. And I was like, I've been thinking about the album cover literally since I knew this was going to be an album. Let me leave it at that. It feels like it feels good to me. So I left it at that.
That is incredibly fascinating.
That's the story of how it came to be. Now, as for what it represents, let me take a swig of water first. Because that's even longer. I don't want to like. I would like to keep my like classy '90s musician interview ambiguity. Like, it's up to interpretation, because it is.
Be as mysterious as you want.
What I will say, and what I've tried, what I've described, is if you actually listen to the album cover depicts the final scene of the album, but through the memory of the main character who's in the scene. And if you listen to the song, Nostalgia King Memory Clinic, you'll sort of understand that there are these memory clinics where you can go and relive your own memories as visceral as just having an experience. But through time, your memory sort of reliving your memory sort of erodes a lot of the detail and a lot of whatever. So in my mind, the actual scene that is happening, being depicted in the album cover, is like a bright sunny day. That's outside a cafe. There's visible silverware. There's whatever, a brighter tablecloth. But it's been relived so many times that only these 2 details of like, there's a table because there has to be, because that's how eating things worked, and there's a cake. But even those are like not really there anymore. That was sort of that's the story of that's the lore behind it. It goes a little bit deeper than that, but I don't know. I'm not saving a ton of ambiguity.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I was curious because the last track on here is Cake Wedge, track 12, and I was wondering if that was a direct correlation for what we were looking at the album cover, and I guess that kind of confirms it, right?
Yep. That's the idea.
Yeah, the album cover is extremely fascinating. Like, looking at it in a vacuum, it's definitely, if no one listened to this ever and you're looking at the YouTube screen right now and you see the album cover as the image I'm using, it's very, like, the color palette is so, like, washed out in green and blues, and then it's the bright yellow and pink of the cake that just seems so just intriguing. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but I think it looks like a cursed album you'd find on Bandcamp. Like, you hit the fucking nail on the head with that.
Yeah, that was definitely the goal, and I don't mean to brag, but I did that intentionally. Yeah, that was the goal. What did you just say? Yeah, I think watching your review and you said it looked a lot like a caretaker thing. I was like, I didn't do that intentionally at all, but looking at it like
I think it's because the color scheme, like
the color scheme and like the memory theme,
exactly the same. Yeah, I didn't even bring up the memory theme until like after I filmed the review. I listened to it again. I'm like, fuck, he even talks about memory in this. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together when I originally listened to it.
Yeah, and it was not inspired by Caretaker at all. Like, I love the concept of Caretaker. I have yet to put in the time to actually listen to any of it. But I was not thinking about it at all.
Yeah. No, I think it came out very nice. And since we're on the topic of album covers, I'm looking at your major streaming services. I'm on Apple Music, and I see you have one song released that in 2020, Hello Molly, which did end up on the album, which is track 6. Why is the album cover what it is for Hello Molly single version? Because it looks very bright. It has reds and yellows when compared to the Fever Dream that is the I'll Die Before the Rest of Me Changes cover.
So, well, for two reasons. At that point, the narrative of the whole album was a little bit more loose because I did it like a year out. But I don't know what was going through I genuinely don't remember what I was thinking a year ago when I was like, yeah, the album will be done in time enough that I can put out a single.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I had written like the last 3 songs at that point, and the last 3 songs are like a fourth of the album. So I don't know why I put that out so early. But my sister actually drew that, and I basically asked her to listen to the song and like draw it while she was listening to the song.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
And then I just told her sort of the basic concept, which I feel like if you read the lyrics, it's fairly evident that, I mean, it was inspired by like 2014 YouTube vloggers. So in my mind, that album cover is like, I should say it's about parasocial relationships with 2014 YouTube vloggers. So in my mind, that album cover is sort of what you feel, the sort of this one-sided love you feel looking at or watching a vlogger. That's sort of, yeah. Or having like a crush, like having a parasocial crush on a vlogger.
And I can kind of see the like resemblance in the album cover a little bit. This is a very nice album cover. Like it does look, it's very nicely done, I do have to say.
The single
tip
cover?
Of the hat to your sister. Yeah. Single cover. Tip of the hat to your sister there.
Yeah, she did all the line work, and then I colorized it. And I think it was the same process where she had a great base for it because it was all black and white. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't like black and white. I don't like black and white album covers that much because it's like the only time it works is like when you're a black death metal band, where it's
black,
like
Norwegian black metal shit,
where it's just like the album cover is just like you opening your eye socket and like a maggot comes out, or whatever. It's like that you can put in black and white because I don't want to see that in color.
Exactly, classic.
But like I don't know. I don't like black and white for myself. So I set out to colorize it. She did it on like printer paper, so I scanned it in and tried to figure out how to colorize it. And I think I accidentally filled the entire thing red. And much like the actual album cover, I was like, "Do I like that? I think I really like that actually." I guess the entire album cover is red now. And then ended up kind of contrasting with the actual album with the red and the blue sort of.
It is kind of like complete opposite color palettes when you look at it.
Yeah. It's
very striking. I was just curious about that, but I think it worked pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Quick question before we dive into the actual album. I feel like I'm not allowed to listen to this because this is only for fish people and their friends.
This is the Big Fish podcast.
This is the Big Fish podcast. All right, you know what? I'm allowed to listen to it. And if you guys listen to it...
I'm not sure what you're talking about here. And everyone listening is, I assume, a friend. So.
That is very true.
That's everybody.
Why is your label Fish People and Friends?
So when you go on DistroKid to upload an album and you think you have all your information prepared, and then they want a label, and you're, I think at the time, I think I was old enough to start a business. I don't remember. I was like, I don't have a record label, and I made that up, and then I kept it because it's sort of still funny to me. But that's a little Easter egg for the real fans who bother to notice the record label.
No, yeah, I love looking at, because you're self-released. I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I love looking at the record labels down there to see what they put. And most of the people have like just their name, or like if it's you get the basic DistroKid package, because I use DistroKid myself. It's like the DK 73479824 or whatever. Right. But I saw that and it gave me a little giggle when I first saw it. I was like, Fish People and their friends. I actually like that a lot.
That's good. I was worried tonally about it, but I was like, fuck it. Like you'll listen to the whole album a couple times. You'll have heard it in completion, and then you were like, oh, that's fun. The record label's that.
Yeah.
Just because I was in my mind, for some reason, I thought it was going to be like you're halfway through. You're like, halfway through Should Have Had a Mother, which if you listen to the album, you'll know why that's be a song you don't want to totally interrupt.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, really vibing with this. What's the record label? And they'd be like, Fish People and Their Friends. And you'd laugh super hard and super long. And it would just like completely ruin the emotional momentum I spent building up the album. That was my fear. I don't think that will ever happen.
No. No.
So
I think Fish People and Friends seems almost like eerie in a way. Like you can spin it in an eerie tone, like fish people and their friends, like these aquatic creatures that shouldn't be alive and their friends. Like you could turn that in a weird eerie way, which you can kind of fit when if you listen to Should Have Had a Mother and you read that, you're like, oh, yeah, I don't think you're gonna laugh. I think you're gonna be like, oh wow, this is something I'm not prepared for.
Yeah. I think when you said it, I was like, it's almost like you're racist towards fish people. Where you're like, those fucking fish people. But then you add the and their friends, and it's like, maybe they're old and don't know a more PC term.
Yeah.
They're like just trying to be polite. That's just
fish people.
I don't know why that came to my mind.
Also, while we're talking about the metadata that you put into DistroKid, why is this filed under pop?
It's a pop record.
I can make a case for that.
They don't have art pop as a thing,
True.
and there wasn't enough like rock in it.
Yeah, like different. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
I call it an art pop record because it's not a straight up pop record. Obviously, I think of it like a Radiohead record. Not that it sounds that much like Radiohead, but just because they have such a disparate collection of like timbres and instruments over their catalog. Like I think of it like, to me, the collection of instruments is like Hail of the Thief, where it's like there's some songs that are just acoustic guitar, and there's some songs that are the full band, and there's some songs that are weird synthesizer bits. And I would call that record an art pop record, so I call this one an art pop record. Again, I don't think it sounds like anything like Hail of the Thief, because I don't want people to think that I'm comparing myself to Radiohead for obvious reasons, but that was just part of my thought process, because otherwise I have no fucking clue how to categorize this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I feel like anything I would have looked at in the genre tag, I would have been like, that's not that, because it is so many different things, and that's kind of what I was hoping you'd get at when I was bringing up the genre label. For people who don't know anything about you, can you give them like an elevator pitch about what this album is?
I can give you the elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch, hell yes.
So, I'll Die Before the Rest of Me, let's see if I can remember it, because I've typed it out so much. I'll Die Before the Rest of Me Changes is a dystopian coming-of-age / family drama art pop concept album about a father and son coming of age in the weird and surreal digital dystopia that is the internet age. I should probably have read the cleaner thing out. Yeah, that's the basic idea. Yeah.
It's a very interesting topic when you think about it, especially with the instrumentation like riddled all throughout this. It is you do have a lot of electronic bits and like synthesized bits, but there's also like human bits in it, like your voice obviously and the guitar tones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I really like melding those things. I just love I think just because I grew up on the internet, I just love every genre of music except for right now, classical music is the one I'm trying to get into.
It's hard for me to get into classical music too.
Classical and jazz, but jazz is like, Dave Brubeck and Take 5 is technically jazz, I get like Take 5 to jazz is what like Fur Elise is to classical music, but I feel more jazzy listening to Take 5 than I do Fur Elise. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think jazz also has that sample history behind it with the hip hop community, so you can kind of just like trick yourself and like, this is kind of hip hop.
The Tribe Called Quest made jazz so much easier, and there's like one big pun song. There's one big pun song, and then Dances with the Devil, or what that song's called. Mm-hmm. But you're not listening to the sample when you're listening to Dance with the Devil. So there's the one big pun song.
Would you mind if we delve pretty deep into this album, because it is kind of quite a box to unpack?
Please do. I thought about this moment when I was 16 or 17 when I started this, and
Well, how old are you now?
I'm 19 now. I turned 19
Gotcha.
pretty recently.
Oh, congrats. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy late birthday.
Oh, thank
Would
you.
like a
Thank you.
bright piece of pink cake?
No. Pink cake frosting is disgusting. Don't smear it on unwashed thrift store tablecloths.
That is... Yeah, I would be very curious to see the after photos for the fucking chocolate cake and all that shit just like smothered in it.
I mean, I can send them to you if you want to see.
You know, unironically, I would like to. I would like to see them.
Yeah, I got to figure out. They might be on a different computer, so I can send it to you after the podcast, and people can check them out.
Okay. All right, so let's really dive into this thing. Let's go track by track because there's a lot of
track by
track
track.
here.
Let's fucking do it right now.
Track 1, postpartum depression.
Yes.
Tell me the story about this.
How it was made, or the actual story, the actual narrative?
Give us both.
Okay. The basic rundown of the narrative, it's sort of an expositional thing. It sets up the story. You're introduced to mainly the father character, Ash. You know the son character is born, but it's mainly the father character. That's all I'm going to say about it, narratively. The actual making of the track, I think... When did this riff actually came about, the opening riff, if you listen to the album, the riff I describe in marketing documents as the riff is going to punch you in the face and then kick you while you're down. That's sort of the thing I wanted. I think I was listening a lot to one Stone Temple Pilots song called Down because I heard it on the Guitar Hero DS soundtrack, and I just got obsessed with it. I think that I actually can't remember if that. I have no idea what the relation to that was. It may have been around when I was writing this. The actual riff came about in like the perfect way riffs come about, where it's not like anytime you're like, man, I really want to do a riff like that, you will never get a riff. But it was just sort of like jamming on Correctivism. Actually, if you listen to Correctivism during the part that I can only describe as, and this might be a little loud, but I'll back up the microphone. I can't. Okay, nope, it's not gonna work. There's a problem with the instrumental song.
That sounded insane through Discord. Oh my god, it like pitched up your vocals. That was crazy.
So, okay, hopefully that's not piercingly loud as it is. Okay, if you listen, if you listen to it and you're like, "Where's the beatly part?" You'll hear this like super high guitar. Underneath that, there's this bass line that's like dun 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 dun. It's like in 3/4 or something. I can't remember what I did. And that it sounds, if you listen, you're like, that sounds a lot like the riff to Postpartum Depression, and that's because they are very similar. Because I developed the riff from Postpartum Depression out of working in Correctivism, but I was like, I'm just going to keep both of them in because they're different enough. Because one's in 3/4 and one's in 4/4. And I like both of them in both songs too much, and I'm allowed to plagiarize my own riff because I wrote it.
Absolutely.
And then it's actually played in a bass, which I when I did it, when I was able to produce a riff that sounded that good, I imagine people would be surprised by that. Like when you tell people that Seven Nation Army was like when Jack White tells people that Seven Nation Army is on a guitar. That was the moment I told him for like, it's on a bass. It's not like drop C. Whoa,
It's not a bass. What the fuck?
What
kind of science is this? What kind of black magic is this?
Yeah, it's on like a $150 like rental bass. Yeah. So I came up with the riff first, and then I came up with the bass line for the second part of the song. And I was once I realized I was like, this riff is too good not to put at the start of the album. I started thinking about it like Loveless, My Bloody Valentine with what's the opening track of that called?
Oh shit. That's escaping me. What's it called? Oh, this is gonna kill me. What is it? Only Shallow. That's what
Only
it is.
Shallow.
Yeah, that was killing me.
Yes. I conceptualized it a lot like Only Shallow, where it was like Only Shallow is a great riff, and then a part that I don't like as much as the riff, but I learned to love. And that is how that's how I conceptualized this. I was like, it's just A B A B A B, and then they have a little like some noise after it, and I have bass feedback, which that part wasn't intentional originally, but I don't know what else to say about the making of this song. I think the only part that I will draw people's attention to, because it's sort of far back in the mix, is in the second verse. You'll hear these like very intense synthesizers that are like a Van Halen type synthesizers that are just very blaring. I put them far back in the mix because I don't want to. That's where they sounded good to me. But I was like, I do still remember the night I came up with these two chords, where it's just like this very low octave and then this very high thing that you'll hear that are still on there. And I was like, oh, finally this is a song, because it was like I had a riff, and then, riff's a riff, but then I just couldn't figure out this B section. I was like, I had this bass line, but the bass line's not enough. And then I played those chords. I was like, oh, now it's a song. And then it took me another couple months and futzing around with it till you got to the point where it sounds like it is. Mm-hmm. So that's the background info.
No, the opening track was like a great mood setter for it, which transitions nicely into "Open an Egg," which is my favorite song, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Open an Egg.
You mentioned obviously the chopped up vocals at the start, but how do you feel about like the piano B section and like the final part of it?
I think the piano B section is a nice little bring down. I mean, obviously I do really like the chopped up. What the fuck is that chop part, by the way?
So the chop part is this is a secret. Don't tell the lawyers this. It is because it's a legal gray area.
If you want to, you could just say that it's
okay.
Yeah,
it's a big artist who you definitely know, who I put into an AI program. So technically, it's not a direct sample. This is why I'm willing to say this on a podcast.
Holy shit!
I put this into an AI thing. It's Google's OpenAI jukebox, something like that. Yeah, I think it's jukebox. And it spat out this like weird ass thing. But there was like one. So I was just like really into hip hop sampling, and I had my like little Teenage Engineering pocket operator. So I just popped it in and just futzed around with it until I came up with this vocal thing. So it is mystery, big artist song put through an AI program that like, I don't know if you've seen videos online where it's like AI tries to guess the rest of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah. It was like, I saw one, it was like AI tries to guess SpongeBob theme songs or something like that. Yeah.
So those videos, I imagine, are AI jukebox, because that is what AI jukebox does. You put in audio and then it tries to figure out what the rest is. So I basically put in this song, and what it spat out was what I was like, this sounds awesome, because it was like the first time I'd ever done it. And I put it in the sampler and I chopped it up, and I was like, this sounds cool. I don't know if I can sing anything over it. And then I just sort of riff sung over it. I think I have a voice memo somewhere where you can hear like the pocket operator played through the really tinny speaker, and I'm like trying to sing quietly so I don't overpower it.
Yeah.
Wow. And that vocal melody changed just because I made it and then set it down for like probably a year and a half. No, sorry. What am I saying? Sorry, yeah, I worked on the actual vocal melody. It was probably like a year, actually. I did all the other instrumentation part. I had the B section of the piano and the guitars and stuff. The actual vocal melody, I didn't sing because I didn't write the lyrics for it until like a year after I came up with it. So I just was like trying to recall the melody, and I sung it wrong than the original voice memo, and I prefer it. I'd like after I recorded it, I was like, or like 2 weeks after I recorded it, I was like, wait a second, there was a voice memo with the melody we should have been doing. Let me double check. And it was like way worse than what's on the album. So I was like, no problem with that. Let's keep it.
Nice. Damn.
Yeah.
You need to promise me this, the second we stop recording, you need to tell me who this artist is, because I am incredibly fascinated. That's probably the coolest thing you could have told me, how you got that sample, like an AI generated. That's insane.
It is. AI is the direction I'm looking to move for. Like that was sort of like, whoa, what is this? And the more I've moved and the more I'm trying to figure out what to do, like to make new music, like new music I haven't heard before, it's the direction I'm going is in AI, because it's just sort of like the logical thoroughfare. It's like, got to lean into it. Nobody. There have been some AI albums and stuff like that, And if you look up like Data Botch, they're doing this like a John Coltrane free jazz stream, 24/7, where you can just hear an AI free jazz. But I think the direction I'm looking to move is trying to figure out how to make these like weird AI snippets into like actual music and something weird and new.
That would be incredible, because I am a huge fan of that.
Yeah. I think we're similar in that way. I think this moment was this like incredible luck. That sample was so fucking lucky, because I did it. Because first off, that was the first sample I ever did out of the program, and I've been playing around with it more. There's easier ways to go about it now. It takes like, depending on how long the sample was, and I didn't know what I was doing, so it was a long sample. It takes like 90 minutes to generate a sample, and it's like super low bit rate. It's like, it sounds like you're playing it through like, if you broke like a tiny like tinny ass speaker and you broke it a little bit, like you can barely tell what's going on. So you're like, that melody sounds cool, but like that's it. And then it took like, I think 4 or 5 hours to upscale to that quality of sound audio that's actually on the album. So I did it a couple more times, and it was just complete garbage the next couple of times. It was interesting, and I was like, this is really cool, but it was like I couldn't ever do anything with it. It was just one of those things in making music for me. This happens a lot, where like the first time you do something, the first time you play a new guitar, the first time you play piano in a while, the first time you try out like a MPC or something like that, like you have to be recording, because you will capture magic. There's something about it that there's always something new that comes about from it. And that was very much the case with this sample.
Yeah, I'm just still like so intrigued by the explanation you just gave. These are so detailed and intricate explanations. I could really tell that you've been like working on this for such a long time, and it shows in the music too. No. Yeah, in a basement. It's classic, crawling out from the underground.
Yep. Gotta love my basement.
Everyone loves their basement, man. It's the home. That's where awesome albums get made.
I spent so much time, especially as quarantine rolled around, I was still working on this.
Oh yeah.
Like, I got over my fear of centipedes. Like, ooh. They still like jar me if I see them. I'm not expecting them. But now I'll be like, what the fuck? Oh, hey, little guy. Like, that's how I am every single time.
That's fucking powerful if you get over that fear.
I had a fucking dream where, this is very random. This is just how much time I spent in that basement. I had a dream where I squashed a centipede, just because that's what you do, just knee jerk. And then this huge, like, triple human-sized centipede. Oh. Human size, not human centipede, but like a human, a large-ass centipede. Comes up to me, and I can't remember if it was a dream. So it's like it in some way communicated to me like, "Hey, that was my child. If you do that again, I will fucking kill you. Be empathetic to these living creatures," or something like that. Like it was very threatening, but then ended with like, think of others. Golden rule. And I woke up, and I think I probably made a poem out of it. I made a poem out of it at some point. I don't know if it was right as I woke up, but it just always stuck with me, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave him alone, because in that basement specifically, there was infinity centipedes. Every other night, there'd be centipedes down there. Killing them did no difference. They would just sort of wander off. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll do that.
The classic: if you can't beat them, join them.
Pretty much. Yeah. So that's how long I spent in the basement. Is that I started empathizing with centipedes.
Nathaniel Philip, you are a fascinating individual.
Thank you.
You are extremely fascinating.
Thank you. I try very hard to be a real depth of mind juice that
we've been talking for like 45 minutes, and I don't even think we've like breached the surface of the mind juice that's floating around in your noggin.
Good. Hey, you should listen to my album, because it's like if I took the mind juice and then took all the parts where I ramble off of it.
You put it into a cocktail and drank it. Yeah.
I took that mind juice, I put it into a saucepan, and then I cooked all the water out of it, so you get this nice like simple syrup. I reduced that shit into a simple syrup. Then I'm like, hey, what do you want? Okay, have a little vodka or something, little lime. Put in the syrup, perfect amount, perfect lime. That's the album. Is a mind juice syrup cocktail.
What a song on the album do you think has the most mind juice on it? Instead of going track by track, I'm curious which one do you think has the most mind juiced riddled throughout it?
So we can talk about my favorite track, and we can talk about the one that has the most mind juice on it. The one that has the most mind juice on it, I would say, is either Open an Egg or Family Meeting. Open an Egg because that track had sort of accumulated from like... The song loosely is about growing up with the internet, and in my case, it was sort of based off my experience with being on YouTube and not liking YouTube. Like, this is before TikTok. TikTok made all the problems I had with YouTube usage worse. But like, YouTube was very much my vice growing up, and so it's just sort of like catharsis for years and years and years of being frustrated with how much time I spent on YouTube instead of doing something more productive. Like, that's sort of like the last sort of bluesy scream bit I do at the end is sort of a release from that. So that has a lot of mind juice on it. I think the other thing is Family Meeting, the other track that has a lot of mind juice on it, just because it's I think it's 3 seconds from being 12 minutes long, which I still regret now not adding 3 more seconds of something just to make it 12 minutes. Just at the end. Put a little YouTube outro at the end just so it's 3 extra seconds long.
Yeah.
So Family Meeting basically is, in my mind, Family Meeting was 2 people sit down to have a conversation, but instead of actually hearing each other, there's a huge, massive, very obvious divide between what they're saying, and they just sort of monologue and explain what's been going on with them at each other, but they don't actually hear each other. They don't get to respond to each other. They don't get to really understand each other that better. They just sort of say what they've been thinking about in isolation for a very long time at each other and don't actually communicate. That was sort of the conflict of the song, and if you actually listen to it, it's very much a Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst thing, where that's a very long 12-minute song, and there's a beat switch up halfway through. That is the only similarity to Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, obviously. Just sort of that. I was like, oh, it'll be like that, where it's very long, and then there's like a beat switch up halfway through. Yeah, I think that song. I think the thing I'll say about that song is I thought this is what I thought about when I was writing it, is that like I was starting therapy while writing that song, and when you start therapy and you start thinking about yourself in a like very self-aware therapeutic way, you just realize a lot of things about yourself, and sort of your patterns and stuff like that, and that can be a really interesting process, and it's like the first step towards growth. And so I thought that'd be interesting. It wasn't necessarily therapy, but maybe the dad character just comes to some epiphanies and can sort of explain some things that like I need to be said for expositional reasons, or just like before I go into this big huge breakdown where he just if you listen to the album, he says some things that have been building up with him since the start of the album. But the challenge that was there was sort of like finding the balance between like show not tell, like the classic writer's golden rule of like don't just have the character explain their emotions, and having a character who is analyzing themselves in a therapeutic way, because they come off very similarly. If you have a person who's just like, yeah, I'm really sad right now, that could be because it's a bad writer who's just having the character say that they're very sad, or it's a character who is self-aware that they're sad enough because they've sort of been thinking about themselves in this way. But if you aren't careful with it, it could come off either way. So I think what I tried to do was make the father character self-aware in a therapeutic way, but like overarchingly, he just contradicts himself a bunch and doesn't get the full picture and says some things that are hurtful, and I don't know. Try to thread that needle, because I feel like I've not seen a lot of movies that do thread that needle where you have a very self-aware character, where they're not, but it doesn't feel like they're telling and not showing. I think that's a completed thought. I need to drink some water.
Yeah, man, take a breather. I was extremely deep in esoteric. I love it. So those were the two with the most brain juice. You were mentioning your favorite. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song is Should Have Had a Mother. I don't think it was the song I worked on the longest. Actually, the weird thing was the song I worked on the longest was Kappa, which is like a 40-second interlude. That wasn't the first thing I came up with, but that song, or that riff, that like little synthesizer line I came up with, that just loops throughout that interlude, I put in so many different fucking contexts. I try to make it work in so many different ways. I started off where it was the A section, and then the B section was just like Nirvana grunge thing, and like I tried to make it like, what else did I do? There's a demo I have where it's like a 5-minute like almost Swans build up thing. Like I was listening to Oxygen a lot. So I was like, oh, it's this really dissonant chord that builds up and builds up and builds up and then goes right back into that riff. And nothing worked. I was like, the only thing I've liked about any of the songs I've made where this is the motif is this motif. So I was like, I guess it's got to be a 40-second interlude. Or it's not 40 seconds necessarily, but just an interlude. But it was funny to me that took the longest. Anyway, my favorite track, Should Have Had a Mother. Obviously a song with a lot of emotional turmoil. And I just like it because it took a very long time to work out the kinks, and it was a song that it's a lot like, I think, how Tom York described writing Everything in Its Right Place, where I was just banging my head against a wall for so long, trying to make this song work. I started on electric guitar, and there was a bunch of other percussion and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, this needs to be a like, what's the Nirvana song he does on the MTV thing?
Ooh, you were asking the wrong guy about Nirvana.
Okay. Where did you sleep last night? Yes. Where did you sleep last night? He does the MTV Unplugged thing. Are you not a Nirvana fan then, or?
I haven't really delved too much into them. I wouldn't say I'm not a fan. I just haven't really explored too much.
Okay. Do you know Where'd You Sleep Last Night? Do you know have you seen that MTV performance?
I don't think I have, but I'm intrigued to watch it now.
Okay. It's sort of like Nirvana. This is not a great analogy, but it's like sort of. It makes you feel the same way that like Exit Music for a Film does. Similar sort of like. It's like Nirvana's that in a way where it's like very long acoustic ballad, and you're like, oh, it's a cool acoustic ballad, and the ending is just like, wow, I'm bawling my eyes out right now, you know, that's sort of what it's like. And the Nirvana one was a lot more just like acoustic the entire time. There wasn't like any weird Radiohead synth shit. I say synth shit endearingly, and I was like, there was part of my dumbass younger self that was like, I want to be Kurt Cobain and make a very emotionally affecting song, because fucking who doesn't, you know? Like,
absolutely.
So there was a little bit of that in it, and I'm glad I took that. I took it. I went in with that like dumbass naive mindset, but I somehow accidentally understood how to like pace it, and so it sort of worked out. Where I was like, I paced this song. It has this very long 3-minute like no drums. And then it comes in, and the drums are very almost exclusively inspired by James Gatson, who plays with Bill Withers. You know the Bill Withers song "Use Me"?
Oh yeah.
So there's a live version he did on what's it called? The Gray Whistle Test Book, the Gray Whistle Test, something like that. And it's just like it's that performance of it is like one of my favorite songs of all time. It's like James Gatson does one thing, and it's like 16th note, like that type of drumming, and he does it exceptionally. He's a human. Calling him a human drum machine is like an insult, because like a drum machine has no groove.
Yeah.
He and Bill Withers and the whole band are just like locked into an insane degree. And as a person who, as part drummer, I am in awe of it every time I watch it. But I was like, let me take that sort of beat and combine it with Where You Should Have Last Night. And then I tried to like do the Nirvana thing where it's like, I'm going to be really sad. I'm going to be really sad. And when I'm really sad, I'll set up all my microphones and record with guitar and singing over this bass line and drums that I've already pre-recorded. That'll work. I tried that a lot. I did not vocally warm up at all. There were many nights where I like had to take a steamy shower and like drink a lot of tea just to recuperate from screaming as much as I did. And I was just like, I really want this song to work. I put it on the back burner for multiple times. I went back into it, didn't work, put it on the back burner. I was like, let me just try pre-recording the guitar. Let me just try recording the guitar and singing the vocals separately. And the night I tried to record vocals over that's I think the final thing in the album, because it just clicked. I was like, oh, I can play guitar and sing at the same time, but I can't perform and play guitar at the same time. You know, like if it was like a coffee house thing, I'll play guitar and sing that, sure. But like for the actual album where I need to be that in this character, I need to not be playing an instrument. I need to be like acting. And so like my physicality, I try to make very much like I took a lot of cues from voice acting shit on YouTube where it's just like, don't be like static, just, you know, sitting in a chair, you know, singing along. Like I sat on my couch and was just sort of like try to get into a position that I'd be in if I was like really, my mind was just like, why the fuck does my son not have a mother? You know, like why the fuck is that how life worked out? Like get into a position sitting on the couch where it's just like my brain could be primed for that sort of existential question as a character. And then just like got up and was like, I know I now got to do the part where I just want to raise my boy right. I say that a lot. You know, get to the point where I can get to that emotional climax, and really get it with the physicality. Did that all make sense? I think that made sense.
I'm soaking it all in. That made a lot of sense, actually, looking back on the album.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts of that song, in addition to the beat, because like, just as a person who loves grooves, I think, because I cannot fucking play that 16th note groove again as good. I don't know what magic, I don't know what coke I snorted for that. I was just like in the pocket enough that like once the bass line and guitars were added, I was like, oh, this grooves excellently. I don't know what happened to my 16th note stuff. It's deteriorated so much since I recorded that. But it was just like perfect moment in time. Everything came together very nicely. And I think one of my favorite points of that is I just want to raise my boy right thing, because I wrote it and I was like, it was like when I actually wrote it, it was like a major discovery of the character, because before there was no ambiguity. For me, the father character, I mean, you know, there's some things revealed. For me, the father character, like I hadn't written Family Meeting at this point. If you listen to Family Meeting, you can sort of see where the father's head is at. But up until that point, the father was just like a very sad man who was trying his best. And once I wrote that line, once I wrote the I just want to raise my boy right, I was like, is he like a Vietnam, like 60s, like, oh, these hippie kids, get him out of here? Like, is that his character? Like, the story is set like 20 years in the future, so is that a prevailing attitude that he has? And then I just like repeated it again or something. I don't know how I came up. I don't know what I did specifically, but I was like, oh, in repeating it and like screaming it and giving it that like dynamic build, it wasn't that he was. This is the thing that's so interesting for me, was it wasn't that he was actually saying, I just want to raise my boy right. He was trying to convince himself that he wanted to raise his boy right. And that was like, oh shit, that's who this father character is. That's why he's a little disingenuous. That's why he's sad. That's why he is as much caught up in his work and the performance of social media with his family, because, you know, he is sort of performing as a father, and he's like, he really wants to actually want to be a father. This is spoilers for the album at this point, but I'm going to go into it. Please listen to the album right now if you're still listening, because I'm going to spoil it. he really wants to be. Sorry, it's not that he really wants to be a father. He really wants to want to be a father, and he just can't get himself over that hump. He's doing all the work to make it to sort of like seem like, you know, to perform as a father, and you know, I just want to raise my boy with discipline because that's what fathers say. But like, that was the moment where it was breaking a little bit, and he just has to convince himself and just yell it at himself until he fucking believes it. Like, that was that moment. And then it's too much for him to take a little bit, and so he switches over to redirecting his anger at his mother instead of maybe going a little bit deeper into that and being honest with himself. And that's sort of the second half of the song. And as a teenager with no acting experience, with very little writing experience, that moment of writing was like, oh, we're doing it for real now. I sound like Zendaya talking about Euphoria right now. Like, we're doing it for real now. And I fucking love scream singing it, and it was just like a ton of fun, and it was just like one of the moments that got me through a lot of the other hard parts about making it, and one of the things that like was cemented me as like, I love art, I love making art, I'm an artist, because this moment was so fucking satisfying to write that and then to scream sing it when I actually got to perform it. That's why should have had a Mother is my favorite song.
Wow.
Also, the music and the groove is just, I fucking love.
It's a lot to take in. I like it though. I really do like it.
Good.
What do you want people to walk away from this album thinking?
I don't know if I want them to think a specific thing. I just hope that people can interpret it or find something in it, or I don't know how well I conveyed any particular message, because everything I kept fairly ambiguous. But I don't know, just like maybe some catharsis on finding it difficult to communicate with family members or something like that, or catharsis about feeling unproductive because you spend too much time on the internet, and just sort of like really, because a lot of times when I'm like I'm on TikTok too much, everyone's like, yeah, everyone is on TikTok too much, shut the fuck up. Or like, yeah, everyone's depressed because they're on TikTok too much, like, so no one is, you know, like you are no more, whatever. And for me, it was like, I feel like it's more than like I spend too much time on TikTok. Like I'm very deeply bothered by this. It's just built up over time, this anger and frustration with it. How do I put that into how do I put that into song? I think that's sort of what I try to do with the opening refrain the ending passage of Open an Egg. So hopefully some catharsis with those moments. I guess that's my answer. There's nothing really specific that I want people to think.
Nathaniel Phillips, before I let you off the hook of this Big Fish podcast, do you have any final words to give to the people?
Set aside some time. Set aside about an hour. Don't cook. Don't be cooking. Don't be doing dishes. I ask respectfully. Maybe go on a little road trip or something. Go on a little walk. Take your dog for a walk, and pop my album on and listen to it in completion if you can, because that is how I think it should be listened to. And if you do that once, that is all I will ever ask of you, until I've read another album, actually. But up until that point, that is all I will ever ask for you. If you don't like it, then you can go, this sucks, and I don't need to ever listen to this again. If it, if you're like, this is not an album I would like put on, or there's no song from this I'd like put on in the car or like work out to, but it was a cool experience, like watching a movie one time, that's also fine. I think that I've been having an irritating time marketing this, because it is sort of for this niche, this album niche that we were in, the Anthony Fantano type things, where it's like, but like I don't feel really good about one song in particular. There's no Bohemian Rhapsody I can put out as a single that's like, yeah. And then the rest of the album is like, there's nothing there. You just have to listen to the entire thing. That's sort of the irritation with it. But you were kind enough to do it and review it, and I thank you for that. And now you're on the podcast, so thank you.
I was a big fan of it, and I just knew the second I heard it and I knew we were in contact, I was like, damn, I want to get in this guy's head. And I think we did that very well. Nathaniel, thank you for coming on the Big Fish podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This was an incredibly enlightening discussion. Like, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but I almost have this intoxicating feeling that I need to listen to this album as soon as possible. So if marketing was your job, you did a bang-up job.
Go ahead, listen to that thing again. If you got this far in the podcast, I hope you would listen to it before I spoiled some of my thoughts behind it, but that's all right.
You gave the spoilers. You said go listen to it before you continue.
I did say that, but it was halfway through my monologue about it. I think this podcast is perfect because it's like when you finish watching like Requiem for a Dream and you're like, wow, that was really dark and interesting. And let me just YouTube the video essay about this right now so I can have it interpreted for me. That's what this is going to be. Is I just explain my thoughts. I just explain what it's about to you, so you're like, oh. That then you go back and listen to it again. So
no, literally exactly, because I was hoping this would be like some kind of like almost a commentary track to the album, and you did a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah, I think I may do this. There's no date for this right now because I'm not professional, but there will soon, in the coming months, I guess, be a deluxe version of the album where you get some. You get maybe some tracks that were not featured in the final thing. There's, I think, like 4 or 5, like, not all of them completed or mixed or mastered or anything, but, like, you know, what you'd expect from, like, tracks that were not featured in the album.
Yeah, B-sides and such.
Oh, I forgot there's a name for him. B-sides. Right, the music term.
B-sides.
Yeah, so you get that. I also want to mention, again, because I'm bad at marketing, I actually made a companion little video game, which you can play on the Nathaniel Philip .art, but Nathaniel with a 3 website.
I'm sorry, what?
So there's a little video game you can go on, and it hosts the music videos. It hosts a little DJ mixing program where you can play. I guess it's a stem player. Really, it's a stem player. I was
gonna say the Donda stem player. Holy fucking shit!
It's a Donda stem player for the song "Paternal Wisdom." And you, in addition, this is what I have over Kanye. Kanye, okay, you can solo out the tracks. You can solo out the tracks. You can also make certain tracks louder and quieter. The Donda player mixer may do that. I'm not sure. But what I don't think it does do is you can actually click each individual track and speed them up or slow the pitch down and raise and lower the pitch. You can just sort of fuck around with it and all the individual stems. That's there. There's a little. It's basically like a Windows 95 desktop you can play on my website. There's a little like icon for an MP3 player program, so you can listen to the album on an MP3 player in a fake desktop on your actual desktop. So it's very meta and internet age.
What the fuck is wrong
and that is
with you? Holy shit!
That is the actual way to do it. Yeah, and then of course there's the Correctivism and then the Hella Molly music videos that are featured on my YouTube channel. You can actually interact with, so they're like interactive music videos. So like Hella Molly, it's like I said, it's sort of based off forming a crush parasocially in a vlogger. So you're watching a vlogger and there's all these pop-up ads and you can scroll through the video and it's very weird, and there's actually some AI art, and all the people are all the people in the game, or the 2 people are both AI generated. So the people you see, the woman in the vlog, who I'm calling Molly Molly, is like a completely AI generated person, and the Correctivism guy and the dad character is also, you get to see the dad, and he is also completely AI generated. That again, if I can plug it again, is the Nathaniel Philip website, which is nathanielphilip.art, and with a 3 instead of an E. You can go and play that.
It will be linked in the description. Absolutely,
it will definitely be linked in the description. Yes.
You are the type of person that I have this open source conversation for you to just spill your guts, and we've been talking for an hour, and I feel like I have just barely grazed the surface. Holy shit, there is so much behind this, and I am just I feel like proud. Like I'm like, oh my god, I respect how much you put into this.
Yeah. I love it a lot, and so I made it, and I'm doing it, and hopefully I can make this into something more profitable than the no money I'm making now, and not have to get an actual job. But we'll see how balancing that goes, because just as a quick lore note, the song, even though the Distro Kid says I wrote the song Correctivism, because I did, it is also a cover. And I will leave it at that. That's the lore I'm going to leave with that song.
Okay.
So, there's a song out there that I actually did cover.
So much mystery, so much explaining, but so much up to the imagination. I love it.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, Nathaniel, thank you for coming on the Big Fish podcast. I really appreciate it. And you know who else I really appreciate?
Who else do you appreciate?
Appreciate the people who are listening to this right now. If you got this far, you must have been completely entranced by the speech that was going on, and I don't blame you at all.
You're in the shower, your hands are wet, you can't turn it off right now. And
no, bro, they're in the shower. They've been standing there for almost an hour and a half.
They're in the fetal position.
God.
Is it a fetal position?
Yeah, fetal. That's when they like curl up and shit.
The water's gone cold. But it doesn't matter. You're in crisis right now.
You're intrigued by this, and I don't blame you, because I was incredibly intrigued by this. And if you're listening to it in the shower and you're doing a little thing with the YouTube screen, you don't have to do it with the YouTube screen. They also have on Spotify and major streaming podcast services. So if you're on Spotify, it's on YouTube as well. Switch back and forth. It's up to you. The first link in the description is the link tree. That's the word I was looking for. It's the link tree, so you could watch it anywhere that you'd like. And also, the links to Nathaniel's stuff will be below. His website, his Bandcamp, and his social media. Which one are you most active on? Instagram?
Yes.
Yes. Questionable yes. Hesitated yes.
I've been trying to get off of all of them. I think Twitter and Instagram, I think are the two I use the most.
All right, fair. All right, I'll link your Bandcamp and your website.
Do link the Bandcamp.
Absolutely.
Everybody buy the album.
Yeah, bro, buy it, bro. Why not?
Buy that shit. Spend the money on it.
So
spend the money.
So one last question before we leave.
Yes.
Nathaniel, what song would you like me to play of yours to outro this?
I wish I'd thought of this ahead, because I'm going to try to knee-jerk this, but I'm the type of person to think about this for too long. Please play, for the outro, I'm going to say Cake Wedge, because I think that, very loud belt I do at the end will be fun to end a podcast with. Although that being said, I assume you're playing 20 seconds of it, so. The first part of Cake Wedge.
The first part of Cake Wedge? Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you stopping by this Big Fish podcast, and as long as you remember that there is multiple different versions of cake smeared on a counter out there somewhere on the ether, then you're good to go. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and have a pleasant day.
He came downstairs the next morning to find that his father had taken the car and gone. He had assumed his father's words until they opened an empty fridge. So maybe he's alright. Instead of thinking about it, 'cause I can't owe him anything with that epiphany.